What's up, everybody? What is up? Hot son of a bitch today, man. Out there mowing the lawn, milting. Ugh. I know Dr. Pepper isn't the best thing to rehydrate with, but I think I drank a gallon of water. So I'm treating my fat ass self to a little Dr. Pepper. Oh. RCF, what's up, dude? Bullseye, thumbs up to you too, sir. Derek Marie, good afternoon. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, damn it. And still, we are counting down the days to the pack deal. I can't help but smile and laugh when I think about it. What is today anyway? What is today? Let me see what it says on my phone here. June 25th. No deal. Oh, 5 days for San Diego State. 5 days. That sucks. That's got to suck for them. Who knows? Maybe something happens at the last minute. Doubt it. Oh. Yeah, well, everyone, hopefully everyone put in a little prayer for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Apparently he had some kind of emergency surgery, blood clot surgery. I think it was a blood clot in his leg or something. And that shit's serious. I lost a cousin over a blood clot before, and so it's serious crap when you're talking about that. He's kind of had a constant problem with that foot, had a couple of toes cut off of it and everything, and still problems with it. Modern medicine. I know it's a great thing. I know modern medicine's a great thing. But I'm like, you can't fix a foot? We're not talking about a horse here you got to put down. I mean, it's freaking Deion Sanders. And I got another video coming out. I'm not sure if I'm going to drop it tonight. Probably tomorrow. It's about Texas and OU. How in the hell are they? How in the hell is Texas and OU the favorites to win the Big 12 next year? According to ESPN, that's what it's about. So I'm not going to go on some big old dive about it, but I did bitch about it, brought up some, I think, eloquent points. At least for me, eloquent points. And why I think that's complete and utter horse shit. Because to me, if you ask me, the favorite to win the Big 12 next year is Kansas State to do it again. And, everyone loses people every year in the portal. All right. Or to the NFL draft or whatever the hell. But that's one hell of a coach. Chris Kleiman. He's one hell of a coach. And I think he's going to have them right back in the thick of things. I think TCU is going to be hell on wheels next year. And apparently they got a good quarterback. I know Max Duggan's gone, but he kind of came out of nowhere. He wasn't even supposed to start in it last year. So, and Texas Tech's 8-5 last year, 4th place team, and they can't get any love from ESPN. Kiss my ass, dude. Joey McGuire can coach, man. So look for them. BYU, Coach Aranda, he's not going to suck 2 years in a row. He's kind of up and down a little bit, but so last year was a little bit of a down year. Pointing back up, Oklahoma State, do they usually have two bad years in a row? They don't. Um, look at Iowa State. That coach, what Matt Campbell. I mean, the dude can coach his ass off. I mean, he's done things at Iowa State that no one does at Iowa State. Nobody, because it's Iowa State, but he figured it out. He's got some roughnecks out there, man. Defensively, that is a damn good program. If they could just put 20 points on the board. Think about how many wins they would have if they could just get somewhere north of 20 points. It's insane. To me, Iowa State is a dark horse to win the Big 12 next year, or at least be in the Big 12 championship game. Look out for Iowa State. Look out for Texas Tech. They're coming. UCF, I don't think they'll be in the Big 12 conference game, but they will be, what's the proper way to say it? UCF will be threatening a berth in the Big 12 conference title game later into the season. Now, they'll probably catch a couple losses they shouldn't, and that'll keep them out. But 9 wins for UCF, around 8-9 wins, that is completely reasonable. Completely reasonable. I don't know what it is about UCF. I've been following them for a long time. Kind of followed them through that back-to-back undefeated seasons they had. They've just been incredibly fun. And anytime you can come up with a great, fun name for your stadium, the Bounce House, how awesome is that? That's the best name in college football it's not Death Valley or any of this other shit. The Bounce House is the best name. Best name for your home field. Challenge me on that shit. All right. So we're still waiting. Clock's ticking. Oklahoma. Oh, sorry, not Oklahoma. Damn it. Arizona, Colorado. We're waiting. We're waiting on that. And while we're waiting on that, you got guys like an individual like Kirk Herbstreit came out, started talking realignment. And there's going to be a lot more realignment than anyone realizes. That's according to him. And I know it's Kirk Herbstreit, right? Oh, he's just a talking head on ESPN. What does he know? He's only worked there for however long. He's, all these rounds of cuts they have, they're not cutting him. Why? Because he's an integral part of their most popular college football show. They're not getting rid of those people. He's ingrained in there. And if anyone's heard anything about any kind of rumors about movement and ESPN looking to do something, he's one of those guys that would have heard something. Feinbaum as well. I know there's a lot of people out there, oh, come on, that ain't happening. Especially ACC people. They just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They're blinded by their own bias. They don't know what the hell's going on. They just think, oh, well, Big 12 has nothing to do with what goes on with the ACC. You're going to need the Big 12 to peacefully pull that sucker apart. Because I know Florida State and Clemson, Miami too, incredibly rich programs. There's other ones that, UNC is a rich program. Nobody's going to pay $100 million to get out of that conference. And that's just for starters. That's not all the money you would owe. That's just the exit fee. That's not everything else lined out in that contract. It could be what, $400 or $500 million to get out of there. No one's paying anything like that. Even if it was just $100 million, no one's paying $100 million. Texas and OU. There's no richer programs than Texas, and Texas was not going to pay $180 million. All right, that was the initial number with 80. They negotiated it down to get out 1 year early, $50 million per team. They're just not going to, these teams, everyone thinks they're printing money. In a way they are, but they're not trying to lose that much money. They got plans for that money. And their plan isn't to give it to all the small teams in the ACC. That ain't it. So you got to break that sucker apart nicely, neighborly, Make sure all the dust and rubble doesn't fall on people. That's why I always call it a controlled demolition. It's what it's going to be. And if you have any sense in your head at all, you know that the Big Ten and the SEC, they're not going to take a ton of teams out of there. They're going to take a couple of the most valuable and then move on. That's all they're going to do. But people still want to doubt it. People still don't get it. And that's okay. Because if any indication that a guy like Herbstreit or Feinbaum, if I'm right and they know anything about this, and really if guys like Flugar, peek around the corner guy, if any of them are any kind of right, we're going to start seeing a hell of a lot of smoke and fire next year when it comes to the ACC, which is crazy, but that's kind of where things are leaning towards now. But in the meantime, we got plenty of realignment on the horizon. And right now, everything's really quiet. No one's really talking much. You haven't heard a whole lot outside of Deion's foot problem out of Colorado. Arizona zipped it up. That says a lot. It says a lot to me that these people aren't trying to say too much because they're, it's called that quiet before the storm. And we're right there, man. June 25th. Ain't got much longer. Ain't got much longer for the Pac. What's up, Blake Phillips? Pac-12 are burned to the ground. I will laugh and rejoice at their downfall. Well, I don't know if I'll be that sadistic there, Blake, but not that far off. I'm going to laugh at the Tony Altomores of the world and a lot of these people that think they know anything, right? They pull out all their pie charts, all their schematics of how it's just pure arrogance and stupidity. They keep thinking, oh, the Big 12 is just, some glorified G5. Name me a G5 that's making anywhere near $30 million a year per team. None. Not even close. G5s make a fraction of what we make. So stop trying to be a bitch. Stop trying to act like you're all that. You're not. It's funny how ESPN and Fox worked the deal out with us awfully quick. Awfully quick. And I know they're still working on the long form contract. That's normal. Right? This is why I never went off with the Big Ten and how, that deal's not done, blah, 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 and all the crap that blew up about that. Because the Big 12 wasn't done. It takes a while. Now, some things were promised that shouldn't have been promised with the Big Ten deal. That was a problem. Well, Commissioner Warren left that thing was probably not the greatest. Although everybody was wanting this big mega deal at the Big Ten. He did everything he could to ensure that you get that big mega deal. The one thing he really screwed up on, his biggest mistake, I don't blame him for anything else. The only mistake he really made was giving NBC or telling NBC they can have a conference title game. That should have never happened. That had to be cleared through Fox itself. He couldn't promise that. That's the biggest bonehead thing he did. The having Michigan and Ohio State play at night or primetime game in November. You want the money? You got to do what it takes to get the money. Penn State got to play on a short week. Tough shit. You want to get paid? This is what you got to do. So I don't blame Kevin Warren for any of that. You just can't give away a conference title game, without okaying that through Fox. That was a big screw up. So I didn't really jump into that. So I think it's hypocritical to jump into that when the Big 12's media deal, the long form, isn't done yet. But those long forms take a long time, and the Big 12 has till 2025 to get it done. It's not another mistake of the Big 10. I mean, I think they finally got it done. They hurried up and got it done, but my God, you're talking a matter of weeks until the season kicks off. I mean, albeit like 8-9 weeks, but my God, let's don't get that close. The Big 12 will not come to that. It will not be that close. All right, Vernon Sheldon Witter. LOL, so will I. Blake Phillips, if I'm Brett Yormark, no way in hell I play ball with ACC unless they give us at least one or two of the high-profile brands. I mean, why do we have to get the bottom-tier teams every turn? We should get North Carolina, Miami. Well, you're shooting pretty hard there, Blake. But I agree with you with North Carolina. To me, it's North Carolina and Duke for the basketball. If I'm the Big 12 and you need us to take teams to peacefully break this thing apart, don't think the Big 10 and don't think the SEC won't be willing to work with you on that. Miami, Virginia going to the Big 10, that might work out. Apparently, Virginia's high up on their list. So is North Carolina. Some people say Georgia Tech. But do I expect the Big Ten to take any more than two teams anyway? No, but they probably have they got a list. The SEC has a list. Florida State, Clemson, maybe North Carolina, maybe Virginia, maybe Miami. So there's a workaround there. There really is. I think if you're Brett Yormark, you come in and say, we want the two biggest basketball brands in the country. And look, the Big 12, biggest basketball conference in the country, the best basketball conference in the country, and it's going to get a lot better. But the two biggest brands in basketball is UNC and Duke. That's why I've always said that. And if I'm the Big 12 and you need me, that's my ask. You want us to be involved? We want the two big basketball brands. And I have a feeling Fox and ESPN would be just fine with that. Saves them money, a lot of money to do that. And not to mention, you get the two big brands into the biggest conference. There's all your matchups, your best matchups. You want to increase the value of basketball regular season? Have a conference with those kind of heavy hitters in it, and it'll help. See, Blake Phillips, if ESPN and Fox is investing in us, I see it as a bad business to make our league filled with second and third tier teams. Makes more sense to get us a few of their tier one teams for our league to see decent money. Well, Blake, that's where I disagree. I think this league here, as far as football goes, think about that. Football, you're talking, will be the home of a lot of tier 2, tier 3. Basketball was going to be a shit ton of tier 1. Because what is UNC? They're not a tier 1 football school. They're a tier 2, maybe even a tier 3 football school. But basketball, they are the highest level tier 1. UConn, tier 1. Gonzaga, tier 1. Duke, tier 1. Arizona, tier 1. All right, we already have Kansas, tier 1. Baylor, tier 1. Houston, tier 1. Tech, right there between 1 and 2. So that's kind of the way it is. But you don't have parity, Blake, if you have a bunch of tier 1 football schools in football. The only way to achieve parity is that everyone is like a tier 2, sometimes a tweener with a tier 3. That's where you get your parity, where anybody can take off and win this conference any given year. And that's what makes it exciting. So I don't think you need tier one football shit here. As a matter of fact, I don't want a tier one football program. I like Miami. I don't know if I would want them. Now, maybe because they're a small private school, maybe, but still, I think there's too much value there. I think the Big Ten would definitely want that. You know, if they give them a decision between North Carolina and Miami, I think they're going Miami. That's most definitely the better market, better recruiting, better everything. You're in freaking Florida now. AAU. But you got all that. You got the brand, the legendary football brand. I know UNC's legendary basketball, but what's worth more, basketball, football? Ugh, hard to figure that out, isn't it, Blake? Vernon Sheldon Witter. I think we need to be focused on the northern ACC universities. All but Georgia Tech. We would need them for UCF. I think we need to be focused on the northern ACC's universities. I don't know. My contention is, Vernon, we're probably going to end up merging with the ACC, all, with minus the Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and probably another team. But what's left over is probably going to become the new part of the Big 12. So it's not just the northern side; it's the whole damn thing. And I'm down for it. I'm all for it. That's a lot of value coming to the Big 12, and you add that what we already have, plus a couple of teams out of the pack going coast to coast. Now you're a conference that offers a shit ton to your media partners, and they will pay top dollar for it. I mean, not SEC top dollar, not Big Ten top dollar, but a notch below that, yeah. See, Vernon, Pitt, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, North Carolina State, NC State. I think they'll all be here, Vernon. Blake Phillips, I think Big 12 should get dips at North Carolina, Duke, Miami, Pitt, Louisville. See, you got my kind of thinking there, Blake. I don't see us being able to pull Miami. I don't. Now, if for some stupid reason, Blake, if the Big Ten is just like insistent on North Carolina, some North Carolina fans believe that. And if they're like, we have to have that, then, in Florida State, SECs, we got to have Florida State, then we can easily come in there and say, well, then we'll take Miami. I mean, I would prefer Miami if you're just talking about football. Yeah, I'll take Miami all day long. Having Miami and UCF, that'd be amazing. And then you come back around and you don't get North Carolina, but you get NC State. Yeah. You get Duke. Yeah. I'm still good with that. I don't know. There's something kind of sexy when you talk about basketball and having North Carolina and Duke in the Big 12 and the matchups that provides within basketball. I think that's the better business play for the Big 12. I think it's the better business play for Fox and ESPN as well. That's why I'm saying that. But I hear you, Blake. Vernon, Miami will never want within the Big 12. Georgia Tech will be a much easier addition. Yeah, and that's where I think Georgia Tech's going. I know they're in Atlanta. I know that's a monster market. But do you really get the Atlanta market with Georgia Tech? Kind of don't. It's like SMU and Dallas. Are you really getting Dallas if you get SMU? No. TCU owns more of Dallas than that. Texas Tech owns more of Dallas than that. Baylor owns more of Dallas than that. And I'm not even talking about the Texas and Oklahoma who have huge fan bases in Dallas. A&M still has a fan base in Dallas, which I would say is probably at least on par with SMU. So, It just, you know, I would welcome Tech into the Big 12. Let's see, Vernon once again, and Duke can mold. I'm not sure what you mean by that, there, Vernon. Blake Phillips, I just think it lacks competitive balance, and antitrust type stuff comes into play when you don't give our league at least a fighter's chance worth of money teams at some point. What is the point? No, we got a chance, Blake. I mean, did you not see TCU this year beat Michigan? Now, look, no one has a chance against a team like Georgia. Every once in a while, you see those kind of teams. Clemson was that team for a couple of years. The SEC couldn't touch Clemson for a couple of years. That's just that's the nature of the beast. Sometimes there's those teams that are just unfreaking beatable. There's nothing you can do. LSU was that team one year. Alabama had several teams like that in recent memory. It sucks when you run up against a buzzsaw, but no one's winning. Ohio State, Michigan, no one was beating Georgia this year. But can they stay at that level? None of them ever do. They always come down. That's the nature of it. Now, the Big 12 naturally will get better and better in football, but it's going to be across the board. Is there a chance that one of these teams one year gets enough talent and is kind of a freaking dark horse or a spoiler, if you will? Yeah, that'll happen. Because that's the key to a thing like a team like Georgia. They don't bring it every week. It's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to play at that level week after week after week, even in championship games. Sometimes they damn near got beat by Ohio State, and they are way better than Ohio State. But Ohio State brought their A game. Georgia brought their C game. See what I'm saying? And no matter what, Blake, you're never, ever, ever, ever out recruiting the SEC. The top teams there are the top teams in the Big Ten. No Big 12 team will ever out recruit those guys. Basketball will out recruit the fuck out of them, but when you're talking football, no. I think you can keep up and you can be competitive with them in given weeks, but out recruiting them, Kansas State is not going to out recruit Alabama ever. They've never out recruited Texas or Oklahoma, but Kansas State routinely beats Texas and Oklahoma. The last several years they have. You can beat them with less talent. It's called coaching. We have outstanding coaching inside the Big 12. And Texas and OU don't have that. When Nick Saban's gone from Alabama, you're going to see that thing go down several steps. All right. Georgia's a problem for a while. They got a coach who's a little bit younger. But, Clemson's got a hell of a coach. But Clemson hasn't been Clemson the last several years. They've been really good, but they haven't been that top-tier dominant level. It's hard to stay at that level. So it'll work itself out. Trust me, the Big 12 will win a national championship in football. It's going to happen. It's destined to happen. I mean, just the odds of it is going to be there. And you don't need a tier 1 huge football brand to do it. You don't need, someone come in here so we can have a title. No. We have the teams that can win. You got to believe that, Blake. Chris Lieberman, what's up, man? I think you just told the Big Ten our secret. What secret is that? Vernon Sheldon Witter. Big Ten does not even take an interest in this video. Oh, that is true. That's true. Miami is now an AAU school. That makes them a target, Vernon. In some ways, yeah, especially with the Big Ten. Yeah. It will be easier than merging with the damn pack. That's for sure. That's for sure, Vernon, because it's a different kind of deal. The Pac thought they were just better than us. They'll get a better, sweeter deal, $40 million per team. That's what they thought. That's what I guess people were telling them that. I mean, it wasn't people from ESPN and Fox telling them that shit. They got it from somewhere. The ACC, they're not that stupid. All right, I'm not saying there aren't arrogant people there. There's definitely some arrogant fans there. But when they're looking at the landscape, they know their top teams are going to leave. In 2036, everybody else is going to be a mad scramble. They don't want a mad scramble in 2036. They don't want to go through what the Big 12 had to go through. They don't want to have to go through what the Pac had to go through. They would rather just, okay, let's work with our media partner here and work out a way to get everything sorted well before that. That way, that saves a lot of embarrassment, time, issues, everything else. It's the smart way for the ACC to do it. Controlled demolition is the smartest and wisest way to do it. If you know you don't have a future or much of one past 2036, let's go down different paths and find new futures and new conferences. And if you're talking about everything's going to work out where it's going to be 3, ESPN right now is only working with 3 conferences, and that's all they plan on doing. And if they can get it consolidated into 2 with the Big 12 and ACC merging, that just makes everything easier for them. They have everything on lock, the content they need, and they're out. That's why the Pac's completely fucked. Mr. L, what's up, man? So many people who downplayed the importance of AAU certainly paid attention to when they recently added 6 new schools and made it one of their talking points, trying to eat their cake and have it too. Yeah, I don't know how important AAU is if they're just throwing in 6 teams all at once. That seems a little weird to me, L. I think it seemed weird to a lot of people. And it is, look, it's important to the Big Ten. It apparently is. SEC, not really. I don't think they care. Big 12, take it or leave it. So it's important to the Big Ten. But the Big Ten don't rule everything. They would like to, but they don't. Let's see. Blake Phillips, I think we need a travel partner for UCF at some point. I think Vernon had it right. It'd probably be more, Georgia Tech, close enough. But that's probably going to be your travel. I would love Miami. I just don't think it's going to happen, Blake. I think chances are UCF is our lone Florida team. And I think UCF's going to be good with that. And if you could bring in Georgia Tech and some of the Eastern teams along, that helps them out. As I said before, travel is not a big deal until you have to go through time zones. Now, going from east to the central and then back, it's not that big a deal. Going to the West Coast or the mountain, that's a little tougher for UCF. And it's tougher for the teams out there to go to UCF. So if you're just going north, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, UConn, Syracuse, see what I'm saying? Boston College, or going out to Louisville. It's not that far going to Louisville from there. That's decent travel because you're in the same time zone. So it's not that bad. Couple hours there, couple hours back. Not a big deal. So not a lot of travel that needs to happen there. Or not necessarily needing a travel partner, at least not a conventional one there, Blake. Mr. L, Miami has the more recent basketball success too. Compared to FSU, they were just in the Final Four. I get it, Mr. L. I just think Miami's going to find its way to the Big Ten more than likely. Possibly SEC, but I think Big Ten. Vernon, these are universities with small amounts of graduate research. I am an alum of 2 AAU schools. Kansas, congratulations. UCLA, boo. Both had enormous amount of research in targeted areas. Vernon, I hate Duke. I understand you hating Duke, but it's a hell of a basketball brand. Chris Lieberman, comma A. I don't know. Is that our secret, Mr. Lieberman? Just A? I don't know. I don't know. You're too. I don't know. It's riddles. Riddles, Chris Lieberman. Vernon, Blake Phillips, GTI makes a more interesting and reasonable travel partner for UCF. Miami has a problem. I would rather Miami, but Georgia Tech, Vernon's right. I think that's the more likely outcome there. Scotty King, what's up, man? Y'all sound like a bunch of 7-year-old boys playing with action figures. What is this Big Ten, SEC, or Prime and Megatron? Well, that just makes it more fun to talk about there, Scott. But they are the biggest players in college football. Well, I can't say college basketball, can you? No. That would be us. So we're the three biggest players. I think with Scotty King, I think what you're trying to say is the Big 12 has a bigger voice than people realize. And that voice is going to get a lot louder in the coming months and years. And I think you're right. The Big Ten and the SEC, they are what they are. They add a couple of teams here. Another one adds a couple of teams there. Doesn't really change their power structure. They are what they are. They are powerful as they are. But the Big 12 is going to have a pretty full-throated, loud voice. Pac-12 is fading away, just whispers as it falls down the chasm of oblivion, of nothingness. And the ACC has got the barrel in their mouth, ready to Kurt Cobain the whole thing. Let's see here. Blake Phillips. Again, I don't want Georgia Tech. Believe me, I am a diehard Big 12er, and I know we compete. But if ACC collapses, well, it's not going to be a collapse, I don't think. I think it's going to be done purposely and in an organized manner. And we get bottom-tier teams again. That's just not a winning recipe for our league. Well, you can't really say that, Blake. Look at UCF, right? They're just some G5 jackhole, right? Out of the American. You know, they've been playing football, collegiate football, for how long? You know, just a handful of years compared to a lot of these teams. But if you really dig into what they're doing, what they're about, UCF is kind of a sleeping giant. And they could very well be the next TCU, if not even bigger. I mean, think about what TCU is. Same thing. G5 school comes to the Big 12. 10 years later, they're playing for a national title. That could be UCF easily. Easily. They got the resources. They got the fan base. They have a young alumni base. A massive alumni base. They got a ton of support. They're in some of the best recruiting ground ever, with access to Texas, access to the desert, access to Ohio, to access to all the prime recruiting in the nation. UCF is on the come up big time. So I'm looking at places at schools that still have a ceiling, still have potential, can do something in football and basketball. Just because you get Miami doesn't mean Miami's going to do dick. They haven't done dick in since the early 2000s, somewhere in there. So it's been a while. It's been a minute. It's a nice feather in the cap. I would love Miami. I just think they're destined for a couple other conferences. That's all I'm saying. Excuse me. Scotty King, Georgia Tech going to the Big Ten with Virginia, Notre Dame, and UNC. Scotty, I got to disagree. I don't think Notre Dame is going to the Big Ten. I don't know why people keep thinking that. It's not like they need the money. They don't. They haven't even worked out their new deal with NBC. That's $75 million a year. Yeah, they could probably get that, if not close to it. They don't have to go. They don't have to go at all to the Big Ten. They make their own money. They got that Vatican money too. that's that's a lot. Screw your research. Vatican money. That's where it's at, baby. Vernon. Not necessarily. The Big Two will end up in a delusion. Delusion. Yeah. Georgia Tech is not. I don't believe that at all. Them going to the Big Ten. I understand. Mr. Williams on Twitter there, he's been around for a minute. Guy I follow. Damn it, what's his first name? Anyway, he talked about Georgia Tech and Miami. Those are the two most logical teams to go to the Big Ten because of the markets and blah, 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 blah. I just think I think that's how they built the Big Ten, was through market and the business model like that. But I think they're a little past that now, especially since all these teams getting paid huge amounts of money. Now it becomes a little something different. Can you bring in that kind of money every year or more? Can you be additive? Vernon's right. It's at a certain point it gets dilutive, so they're going to be very careful on who they add. It can't just be, well, they're in a big town. Well, who gives a fuck? At this point, the Big Ten, they don't need your big town. They got the biggest towns. They got the number 1, number 2, and the number 3 biggest markets in the country. And then a bunch of other ones that are still massive, like Maryland. So, do they need Atlanta? No. Does Georgia Tech give them Atlanta? No. Doesn't. Georgia. University of Georgia has Atlanta. Blake Phillips, the way that doesn't happen. Big 12 gets a couple tier 1 brands. Who's the tier 1 brands we would get, Blake? And we are getting 75 million as opposed to 60 million. Now you're shooting for the moon there, Blake. It's more sustainable, obviously, using rough numbers, but you see my point. I kind of see what you're talking about. You're thinking you get a couple tier 1 brands and you can raise the money up. I would rather take less money, Blake, than have a couple tier 1 brands. And here's why. Look what the ACC is going through right now. You got a couple brands that are elevating the money for everybody. So they want the extra money. They think they should get more money than everybody because of the value they bring. Same thing with Texas. That's why they got the Longhorn Network. They thought, hey, we're bringing all this value into the conference. We should have a Longhorn Network and make our own money. And it kind of screws everybody. Same thing with the ACC. So even if you bring in the tier 1 brands, then they're going to start getting a little pissed because they're not making what everybody else is making. Even at 75, you're still making less than these other teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. So there's not much of an incentive. If Miami can get into the Big Ten, that's where they're going to go. They don't want to feel like they're propping up in some kind of way part of the Big 12. And I don't want teams that feel that they are propping up anything. Or even if they are propping up some bigger numbers. I don't want that. It's a fight that's going to happen. Look at the evidence that is happening all around us right now. To me, get the tier 1 schools the fuck out of here unless you're basketball. If you're tier 1 basketball, we want you. Tier 1 football, I don't want you. I don't want your arrogant prick fucking ass in my conference anymore. Texas, Oklahoma, bye. Get the hell out. I'm afraid Miami would have some of that same mentality. I don't want that. I'm fine with Oregon and Washington coming in here for a short period of time until they can get into the Big Ten. That's no problem with me because even though they'll bring a little extra money for a period of time, it's only for a period of time. And it helps flatline the Pac-12. I'm fine with that. So I got incentives for that to happen. UNC, yeah, they're a tier 1 basketball school. They don't have that stroke in football. So it's not like they can come in here and start throwing their weight around because they ain't got the weight in the Big 12. They don't. They would have an equal say. No problem. We're going to listen to you. If you have an issue, we would hit, same thing with Duke. We would listen, but we don't need you. We just want you. You see what I'm saying? You can't come in here and say, well, we're the reason y'all are making the money because of us. Bullshit. Kiss ass. Get the fuck out of here. That's how I see it, Blake. Ooh, let's see here. Mr. L talking to Scotty King. You're probably right with that prediction. I don't agree there, Mr. L. Scotty King, SEC getting Clemson, Florida State, Miami, NC State. I can't see NC State going to one of those two. I think that's the thing. People are trying to plug 4 and 4, and that's, you can't convince me the SEC willingly will take 4 teams out of the ACC. I don't see that at all. Even unwillingly, I don't think they see the value in that. Period. Like, well, there's a lot of people that stop. I'm tired of hearing, well, the SEC country is growing like a sun. But then take Memphis, because Memphis is growing like out the asshole. If it's just based off of demographics, Tennessee's blowing up like a bitch out there. Tennessee and Texas, the 2 most growing states. Florida too. So I can see Miami. North Carolina? Come on, man. That's still a sleepy town kind of state. It is. I've done my research on it. That shit ain't Texas. It ain't even Tennessee. It ain't Florida. The demographics don't say that. If it's all about the demographics, take Memphis. They are growing like a weed on steroids. Take them. Stupid. Like, the American did a good job getting UTSA to backfill with. The San Antonio. Again, one of the highest growth cities in the country. Smart business, smart idea by the American. And a good school. But, come on, stop with the NC State stuff, man. That ain't, let's just say I disagree. Maybe I'm wrong, and you can, I'll do a live stream, like, hey, fuck you, bitch. I was right about NC State, and I'll have to give you credit. I will give you all the credit. Till that happens, I'm going to say I disagree. Vernon, use pods. Use pods, less travel. Pods, divisions, something like that. Yeah. When you go coast to coast, you're going to have to structure it. Derek Marie, Big Ten will get Miami, Virginia, UNC, Duke, Notre Dame, and Bot. God dang, Marie, you think... Well, hell, maybe they should just go ahead and merge with the damn ACC if you're right there, buddy. No, he wasn't done. SEC will get Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest. So what you're saying, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're saying all but just a couple are going there. Wow, you're really optimistic on what the Big Ten and the SEC are going to take, or what Fox and ESPN are going to pay for. You think they want to give Wake Forest $80 million a year? I know it won't be, they won't get a full ride. Well, eventually they will. Maybe not at first, but what is it at first? Is it 60? 65? I mean, I don't know. Derek. You're asking a lot there. Scotty King, Big 12 gets Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, and Duke. I'm good with that, but I think we're going to get a lot more. I think we're going to get a lot more when it happens. Vernon, no Memphis. I'm not talking Big 12, Vernon. I mean, if there's all this value in the demographics and all that, like I said, why doesn't the Big 10 jump on Memphis? Get in the SEC territory that way. Vernon, you are underestimating the Big 12 badly. I'm not. I think a lot of people are overestimating what the Big Ten and the SEC are going to take. I think the Big 12 is going to have most of the teams out of the ACC. I think it will be some form of merger that happens once they just, the Big Ten and the SEC decide who they want. And I don't think it's going to be no 4, 5, 6, 7 teams apiece. That ain't happening. It's going to be maybe 2 apiece. And Notre Dame isn't going to be one of them. I'm sorry. When I see them officially join the Big Ten, I will believe it. Well, they got AAU status. Yeah, they do. I wonder how big of a check they wrote for it. Dallas Marquez, what's up, dude? Let's go. Derek Murray, facts. Not yet. Vernon, no Memphis. Vernon, G5s are not the answer to the Big 12. I didn't say the Big 12, Vernon. I said it once. I said it before. I was talking about the Big 10. Vernon, we have a media agreement that discourages G5 editions. I think there's certain G5s there, Vernon, UConn, that there will be an exception made by Fox, maybe ESPN as well. Just saying. Blake Phillips, I got to call it early tonight, guys. Meeting Hunter for some drugs in a bit. Gonna talk about some pay for play schemes too. Should be a fun night. Well, have fun, dude. Arturo Balderas, what's up, man? Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the NC schools, especially NC and NC State, stuck at the hip by state law? Whatever conference UNC goes to, NC State has to go to. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that, Arturo. I've heard it. But if I'm right there, Arturo, then what I'm saying as far as the Big 12 saying, hey, we want UNC and Duke, and of course NC State's going to be part of the package, no problem. I think that's a problem when you're talking Big 10 or SEC. Clint Moses, SMU transfer class besides Sooners is ranked better than entire Big 12 and new Big 4. Ranked by who? Clint? I mean, maybe. I mean, transfer class doesn't mean much. I mean, you can get some good kids that'll make a difference. But, we'll see. Vernon Shelton, not you, numbskull. Gotcha. Brett Yormark will have to negotiate any G5s with the media companies. True enough. Very freaking true enough. Hey, look at there. Doesn't happen often. I finally got caught up. But I am about to tear ass. I got some cooking to do. It just never ends around here. I got to do everything. I grocery shop, I cook, mow the lawn. My wife does a lot too. She does a lot too, including most of the bitching. Oh, this is going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. We're June 25th, guys. 5 days away from, I think, the most important deadline, which is July 1st. July 1st. It's going to be interesting. Clint Moses 24/7. So they're the ones that said SMU has a better entire Big 12 transfer class, or a better transfer class than the entire Big 12. Including Texas and Oklahoma. I find that hard to believe that SMU has a better any class than Texas and Oklahoma. Because Texas and Oklahoma, they win. They got they got recruiting classes, transfer classes out the asshole. And I understand 24/7, they probably just, wanted to be a little contrarian. I totally get that and respect it. Do I think it's true? Don't know. Hell, SMU might be better on the field than Texas or Oklahoma this year. Who knows? I appreciate that, Clint. Vernon, if they were worth anything, we would have had them years ago. That's not necessarily true. BYU should have been in the Big 12 a long time ago. Thanks to Texas being pricks, they were kind of denied access. It's kind of like USC being the pricks of the pack and denying BYU access there. Clint Moses transfer class only behind Oklahoma. Well, you just hold on. You said SMU transfer class besides Sooners is. I didn't read that. You got me. Besides Sooners is ranked better than entire Big 12 and New 4. I mean, okay, that's their opinion. That's great. I mean, and I understand why people read that stuff, and that's awesome. I'm sure those guys work hard on it, but I don't really. It's kind of why I can't get into some Olympic sports, is because it's all graded like it's like an opinion. It's like, oh, that's an 8, that's a 9. It's I don't know. I like to see it on the field, and that's great. You won the transfer class. That's great. You won the recruiting. You won the off season. Woo! Let's see it on the field. Oklahoma. They need all the help they can get. So does Texas. And they got a top recruiting class every year in Texas. They ain't won this conference in forever. Well, Bullseye, transfer class, Oklahoma. 8 SMU, 12 BYU, 18 TCU. I got this. Okay, Oklahoma's at 8. Oklahoma's at 8, SMU at 12, BYU 18, TCU 20. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really give two shits about people's opinion on that stuff. It's kind of like, hey, a great transfer class. One guy breaks his leg. One guy turns out really can't play that well. He had a couple of good games. That's what you based it on. Number 3, you got a third guy who has a lousy work ethic. Yeah, he plays great, but he's got a lousy work ethic and is bad in the locker room. You see what I'm saying? Just because you got a good transfer class doesn't really mean dick. What do you get out of them on the field? Can they be an integral part of your team? There's times where a transfer class works out beautifully, and there's other times where it's just dog shit. It looked great on paper until everyone got into the locker room. You're like, oh, God. I thought we were getting something else. Vernon, yes, I know the whole sordid story, but it was not directed at SMU. All right. Music for me, 007. That's an interesting name there, bud. Apparently Ohio State fan from the picture. How can I be rated so highly when their starting quarterback went to Wisconsin? Vernon, it was directed at Houston versus Baylor. Okay. Arturo, the irony is that now you can say you can pay players. SMU was doing it before it was cool and legal. SMU is just the one that got caught. Trust me, under the Saban era, they paid a lot of players. USC paid a lot of. Ask Reggie Bush. They got a lot of shit, didn't they? Yes, they did. You don't think Texas, had a little something they would throw out to some players? Of course they did. They were all dirty as shit. And they were all just dirty. They got pissed off because it was little old SMU. All the other teams, I'm telling you, they got ratted out by bigger programs because they were jealous. They got the players that they were trying to get. I mean, think about Nick Saban. Nick Saban got butthurt over Jackson State getting a 5-star guy with Dion. He got pissed about that. I mean, that's amazing. This guy has 5-star recruits coming out of his ass, and he got pissed off because one receiver went to Jackson State. He's like, oh, how does that happen? How does that happen? How big of a check did Dion have to write? I'm like, fuck you, bud. You have to have everybody just because you're Saint Nick? Fuck Nick Saban. What an arrogant prick. What a bastard. Don't like him. Vernon, Texas ratted them out. I don't doubt that for 2 seconds. Hey, Craig James was ours. Damn it. I don't doubt it for a minute. And all the while, I guarantee you, if Texas did rat them out, they were probably paying their quarterback. They were probably paying their running back and some linebackers back then. Guarantee it. There was a little, a little bundle of 5,000 under a pillow somewhere. Yeah, it's been happening the whole time. Been happening the whole time. And everyone who right now who's bitching the loudest about NIL or transfer portal or any of that, it's probably because they were some of the dirtiest fucks back in the day. And now you can do it out in broad daylight. And like Nick Saban's finding out, there's a lot of teams out there a hell of a lot richer than your school. Texas A&M's got way more money than Alabama. And I know that sounds crazy. Trust me. Texas A&M, I mean, they could be their own country. Same thing with UT. Insane amounts of money. And I'm not talking about money that's on the books, y'all. Not talking endowment. I'm talking about donors, billion-dollar donors. They got plenty. They can buy and sell Alabama a few fucking times. That's why Nick Saban doesn't like this shit. That's why several other guys out there don't like this shit. Because they can't just pay people to be sneaky about shit anymore. All right, when you had to go behind closed doors, it's hard to really unload real money on these guys. It limits the UTs and it limits the Texas A&Ms a little bit. But now, they can all bring out the big guns now. And trust me, Texas A&M got bigger guns than Alabama. Shoot that money, boom, all over the state. Let's see. Vernon, truth. I don't doubt it, dude. Arturo Balderos, Johnny Manziel. I don't know if he got paid. Probably in beer and whores. Let's see. K-Do, what's up, dude? BB, baby, something, former Big 12 commish, led the committee that levied the death penalty against SMU. Of course, he catered to Texas, which led to Big 12 instability. Yeah, don't doubt it. Don't doubt it at all. Yeah, Vernon, he was he's a shit commissioner. There's been a long line of shit commissioners that just basically serve the interest of Texas. Maybe OU towards the end a little bit, but they just kind of go along. It's really Texas driving the horse shit. Glad they're gone. And let me tell you something. SEC fans out there. Yeah. Oh, they're not going to pull shit with the SEC, motherfucker. They'll pull whatever they want to pull, and you can just eat it. That's what, when they play their cards, and it's coming, Texas eventually will show their ass in the SEC. And you're going to find out that's a big, fat, white ass that they're showing. It gets in the way. And it's hard to do anything against it because it's so much fucking money. And when you've got another powerhouse like OU that's in their hip pocket, we'll go right along with them. Why do you think Texas A&M hates them so much? They got tired of being ruled over by that damn school. Tired of it. So A&M's going to play nice for a little bit. But trust me, they're not going to forget that you went behind their back to get that son of a bitch in school into the SEC. But no, OU, I'm sorry, not OU, but UT, Texas, they'll show their ass eventually in the SEC. But the thing is, when they show their ass, they're going to be flashing a lot of cash, a lot of money. It's not going to be just willy-nilly easy to shut them down. Never is. Like I said, if Georgia thinks they got all this money, Alabama thinks they got all this money, LSU thinks it has all this money, you don't know what real money is. UT, dude, they legitimately print fucking money. Y'all don't. You're gonna understand eventually. No one will believe that. No one wants to believe that about OU, or sorry, about Texas. No one wants to believe it, but it's going to happen. There's going to be some political drama eventually in the SEC with Texas in there, and oh no, they're going to have to kiss the ring. Bullshit, you're going to kiss their ass. You're going to kiss their ass because they're going to bring you a ton of money. Ton of new money in there. Oh, they're already making all this money. It ain't shit compared to what Texas is going to bring you. They'll bring you some money. Texas and OU combined will bring you an ass ton of money. But then, once you start loving that extra money, that's when they're going to pop that spring on you. Now you're going to owe them something. It's going to be interesting. Vernon, the SEC has bitten off more than they know. Oh, dude, don't tell me. I already know. It's like some of these countries to get in bed with China. Oh, this is a sweet deal. Oh, this is great. Look at all this infrastructure that's coming in. Oh, hold on. We're not allowed to use it? This shit belongs to China? All of a sudden, hold on. Isn't that our natural resources? Why does it all leave in the country? Yeah, it's a sweet deal till it ain't. Yeah, all that Permian Basin oil money. You are shitting right. And they completely fucked Texas Tech out of it, too. Who's sitting on top of it? They're sitting on top of the Permian Basin. They can't get the money. Ain't that some shit? K-Do, completely agree with you, Numbskull. SEC, well, we'll tell out to pound. Okay, we'll tell OU Texas to pound sand when they pull their crap. No, they won't either, K-Do. I don't think people really realize how much money they're bringing in to the SEC. This is why the SEC was like ejaculating all over themselves to get Texas and OU. It's not just it's recruiting and all that. Whatever. They're already recruiting Texas and Oklahoma. The SEC recruits everywhere. They don't give a shit about that. That's not even a part of it. Texas and Oklahoma bring huge money. All right. Huge corporate sponsors into the SEC. And I know they're already rich. They're doing well. What Texas and Oklahoma bring is that you never have to worry about going down. You'll at least, if you peak, you peak. But you won't come down. You'll stay at the peak. But they're going to pull some shit. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the issue is. I know it's going to be about money. It's going to be about money. And they're going to pull a string. They're going to say, hey, we want to do this right here. And the SEC, whatever that issue is, don't know. And the SEC be like, whoa, I don't know about that, man. We're a little uncomfortable with that. We don't, that's not really an all-together kind of thing. Texas, well, let's, we don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but you realize you were able to buy a second house because of us. You were able to install gold toilets. You realize you now have a personal masseuse who gives you happy endings every single week because of us. You realize you're enjoying all this shit. I mean, you got the money. You already lived in the gated community, but now you got a community pool. That's insane. Now your house has been upgraded because of us. So realize what we've done for you. All right. Now, let's talk about this little thing we want here. Just a little thing. Just a little thing. That's when the shit starts. Because a team or two in the SEC will be like, oh, they'll see the, just give them that. That's cool. Yeah, look, we got a gold tub. We wipe our ass with $1,000 bills. It's cool. Let them have this. They've done a lot for us. Let them have it. A couple other schools will be like, whoa, 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 we can't do that. Now you got a little civil war going. Now you got drama kicking off. And there's the Big Ten. Who, hey, if anyone needs a landing spot, that sound familiar. That's when you can be in a world of shit. Because if you notice, wherever Texas goes, teams leave, don't they? They don't just leave. They don't just leave because, we feel like playing another conference. It's because Texas UT's a bunch of dicks. Y'all gonna find out. Yeah, kumbaya my ass. Excuse me. Starry, what's up, dude? Hearing UT is leaving the 12 is like hearing your cancer is in recession. Well, I'm glad they're gone. That's all I can say, Starry. K-Do, respectfully disagree. This time where Texas and OU go, should they have issues with the SEC, kind of like burning your ship after landfall. That's the problem there, K-Do, because Texas and OU, there's another place for them to go. It's called the Big Ten. And trust me, I know AAU is important, but they'll take Oklahoma in a fucking minute. There's an exception to every rule. All right, Texas, of course, is AAU and a top educational institution, and a fucking wealthy son of a bitch. Yeah, they'll leverage that. There's a lot of things Texas and OU can leverage in the SEC to get exactly what they want. So, whoever has the power and the stroke in that conference, you better look forward to giving some of that up. Vernon, LOL, ain't that the truth? Vernon, in 1994, I knew Texas was the one thing the Big 8 did not need. Well, it's the one thing the Big 12 is glad to be rid of. It's kind of it's like a cancer if cancer had a lot of money. I know UT fans won't like that. Look, I got nothing against UT fans, right? It's like everyone else. You're fans of your school. I get it. Texas is UT is the big dog in Texas. People in Texas love Texas. To me, I just rather find another Texas school to like, dude. There's a lot of them. It's University of North Texas, UTSA, as I said before, Rice, Houston, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech. Hell, Texas State. Trying to think of some more in here. There's a bunch of them. I'm missing several. What's that one down there in San Angelo? Oh, can't remember it. But they have sports. I don't know, man. It's like the evil empires leaving Texas, and thank God. Leaving the Big 12, I should say. Thank the Lord. Let's see here. Vernon, LOL. Okay, you already said all that. Oklahoma is not academically qualified for the AAU. Vernon, like I said, if push came to shove in Texas and OU, sometime in the future, called the Big Ten and said, hey, you got room for two more, they're not going to shut the door in Oklahoma's face. No fucking way. Especially if Texas says, hey, this is a package deal. They're in. I know academics, I know AAU is important. There is an exception to every rule. And the biggest exception to any rule is money. Money. Oklahoma brings an ass ton of money. So, absolutely. And Texas brings even more. So, there is an exception to that rule. They would take OU in a New York minute. or in a Ohio State Michigan minute. All right, guys, it's 5 o'clock my time. I'm getting hungry. I got some hamburgers. I got some lips and assholes, stuffed jalapenos. I got shit I got to grill. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate you, Vernon. Appreciate you, K-Do, Starry, Arturo. Oh, who else? Music for me. Clint Moses, appreciate you. Blake Phillips, of course. Derek Marie, of course, appreciate it. Dallas Marquez, thank you. Oh, Scotty King, I appreciate you being here, sir. Chris Lieberman, never answered any of my questions, but I appreciate you. Mr. L, of course, as always, thank you, sir. Let's see if I'm missing anybody else here to think. Bullseye, of course. RCF, first two in. Appreciate you guys. You have a great night too, K-Do. And we'll see you. Be back on Wednesday, another live stream. Hopefully have I will. Guaranteed.